55 degrees. Lots of clouds around Friday night, 38. Saturday, clouds dominate. A little bit of light rain or sprinkles from time to time. It's no big deal. 50 degrees, and on Sunday, partly sunny and 52. We have an anniversary with weather on this Wednesday. Today is the anniversary of a 7.6-inch snowfall here in St. Louis in the year 2000. None of that is in sight. I'm meteorologist A. Murray for the Voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
Right now, it's 43 degrees in St. Peters. It's 44 in Florissant, and downtown at the Arch, it's 44 degrees. I'm Maria Aquina, KMOX News.
From KMOX Sports.
Okay, boys, here we go.
Welcome to the Graybar Sports Open Line.
Goldschmidt swings, and he hits a drive.
He hits a slammer. Graybar, your distributor for electrical and datacom needs.
Here we go.
Now, Matt Pauley on America's Sports Voice, KMOX.
All right, man, let's get going here.
Here we go. Let's go.
A good Wednesday evening to you. Welcome into the program. Certainly an interesting day in St. Louis sports. It began last night when we found out that Blues coach Craig Berube had been relieved of his duties. Earlier today, Doug Armstrong meeting with the media, explaining the decision, a decision which I think is mostly unpopular with the Blues fan base, and I'm not a big fan of it personally, but here we are. The Blues are looking for a new head coach. In the interim, they have brought up Drew Bannister. He's been the head coach of the AHL Springfield Thunderbirds. He was unable to be at practice today because he was traveling to St. Louis, and he's going to make his debut coming up tomorrow night when the Blues host the Ottawa Senators. We do have some non-Blues things to get into today. Fabian Ardaya from The Athletic is going to join us in about 10 minutes. We'll talk about the Ohtani contract. Also, Stu Durando at 7:35. We'll talk Billikens basketball with him. But outside of that, we are mostly Craig Berube talk today. Scott Warman's going to join us at 6:35. Tamar Scher is going to join us at 7:20. We're going to have time for your phone calls, for your text messages, as in your tweets. If you want to get those texts and tweets in, would encourage you to do that as soon as you want, and we'll get to them later on in the program. But you can text in at 314-436-7900. That's 314-436-7900. Or you can tweet at me at Matt Pauley on air, MattPauley on air. That's how to get in contact with the program. I don't like the move. I don't like the move. Not because I think Craig Berube is the greatest coach in the history of coaches. Not because I don't admit the issues with this Blues team. They're not playing good hockey right now. When they lose games in rather spectacular fashion. Their power play is horrendous. There are nights on a normal basis that you question the effort of players. The effort was being questioned inside of the Blues locker room last night by players on the team. And most of those things are very often connected to coaching. I'm not letting Craig Berube off the hook for what's going on here. But is he the number one problem, the number two problem, the number three problem, the number four problem? I don't know how far down I have to go to figure out where his culpability in this whole thing really starts, but it's not at the top of the list. It just isn't. And it's a roster issue. Okay, it's a roster issue. This team isn't good enough to be a consistent winner. And they have been in playoff position much of the season in ugly fashion. I thought it was interesting today, and we'll play some cuts from Doug Armstrong later on. He made the comment that there have been times where the Blues have outscored their opponents, so they have technically won a game, but he has walked out of the arena not feeling like they actually won the game. That even though they scored more goals than their opponent, it felt like they got outplayed. I don't even disagree with that. That's fine. But when this season got started, we sat here and we said that really the ceiling for this team was probably being a playoff participant, just qualifying for the playoffs. And throughout the year, they have either been in playoff position or very close to being in playoff position. So what has Craig Berube done? He's taken a bad roster, a flawed team, a team that cannot give a consistent effort on an every given night basis, and they found ways to get enough W's to at least be in contention for the playoffs. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team. I don't think they were going to be a playoff team. I am more sure now than I was before that they're not going to be a playoff team. But this is on a lot of decisions that have been made from a roster standpoint. This isn't on Craig Berube. Craig Berube just got scapegoated. He got scapegoated. And there's no reason for it. It is completely unnecessary. When you make coaching changes, the idea is to get better. Now, they're probably going to have a bump here over the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I don't know how long the bump's going to last. It always happens. You bring in a new coach, players start performing a little bit more. A lot of times you bring in the new coach. They've got some positive traits that are different from the last coach. So you kind of get a mismatch of the best of the two coaches. And there's that little jump, that little surge for a little while. That's probably going to happen. I have no doubt that is going to happen. I don't know how long it's going to last. Maybe it's one game, maybe it's 1 month, but at some point this season, the Blues are going to be back to being exactly who they are right now. The decision to fire Craig Berube did not make the Blues better. And you're doing this to a guy who is a behemoth in the history of the organization. One of the top winningest coaches in the history of the organization, and the only coach to ever coach you to a Stanley Cup championship. Right? And you're doing this to him. It's not right. You're not playing for much this year. You were playing to maybe be a playoff participant. That's what the goal was this year. In the grand scheme of things, I hear it from Cardinals fans all the time. There's a lot of Cardinals fans that don't see a whole lot of difference between qualifying for the playoffs and getting knocked out of the wild card round and not making the playoffs at all. It's all the same. That's what the Blues were playing for this year. The Blues were essentially playing for trying to get into the playoffs, and they were going to be a first-round exit in all likelihood. That was the ceiling. That was the ceiling for this team. And you have just taken a guy who is the only guy who's ever led the team to a Stanley Cup, and you're getting rid of him mid-season. Don't like it. Don't like it at all. Again, I'm not running away from the flaws that exist on this team, and I'm not even running away from Craig Berube's culpability in it. He's not perfect. There's been some odd things that have happened under his watch this year, not running away from it at all. But this guy did not deserve to be shown the door before we even get to Christmas. This guy did not deserve to not be able to finish out the year. Don't like it at all. Don't like it at all. 314-436-7900, 314-436-7900. You can call, you can text. Actually, right now you can text because we've got a guest coming up on our next segment. You can chime in on your thoughts on the firing of Craig Berube. You can also tweet at me if you'd like, at Matt Pauley on air, MattPauley on air. We are going to switch gears. Again, mostly Blues today, but we're going to get away from the Blues for a moment here and a moment there. Fabian Ardaya from The Athletic covers the Dodgers in Major League Baseball. We'll talk with him about the Ohtani contract. That's next. It's a Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
Broadcasting from the Underlaw Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com studios.
KMOX. It's football season, and the NFL is in full effect on the free Odyssey app. We're heading into the final stretch of the regular season, and the playoff picture is starting to come into focus. Whatever team you're rooting for, the free Odyssey app has you covered with the local talk and your team's podcasts. Plus, listen to play-by-play of every Sunday night, Monday night, and Thursday night game from Westwood One. If you're looking for the NFL, it's all on the free Odyssey app. Download it today and search for your favorite team. That's AUDACY.
The IRS definitely ramped up operations since the pandemic slowed them down, and activity only increases from here. Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. If you're currently under audit or you haven't paid your taxes in the past, now's the time to call the Lance Story Law Firm. The IRS has a published Taxpayer Bill of Rights, which says you have the right to retain legal representation. Because IRS problems are legal problems, and the Lance Story Law Firm focuses specifically on addressing IRS issues for our clients. It's all we do. We get out in front of the IRS, devise the best resolution plan, and work to make sure you're able to take advantage of every program you're qualified to receive. So before you send money to some an out-of-town, high-pressure company, call the Lance Drury Law Firm. We're local, located right here in St. Louis, or visit Lance, DRURYlaw.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm, the Lance Drury Law Firm, 314-260-6120.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
You know, I'm not real happy about Craig Berube being let go as the coach of the Blues. I don't want to talk about, but we have to talk about it. It's the number one sports story in the city of St. Louis. But I also get to talk about things that I like talking about, and I love. I love talking about Brew Pub Lots of Matzo Pizza. There are nights you're just having a bad night. Maybe you're a big Blues fan, and you just don't have it in you to cook dinner tonight. You know what? Stop by the grocery store, go to Schnucks, go to Deerberg's, go to whatever grocer that you get your frozen pizzas at, and run on inside and get yourself a Brew Pub Lots of Matzo Pizza. So many different varieties. My favorite is the 4-meat. You've got the Supreme, you've got your basic cheese, you got your pepperoni, you got your sausage, pepperoni, and so you know them. They got the breakfast pizza, that's pretty solid as well. They got macaroni and cheese, they got chicken bacon ranch. I mean, they've got the selection that they have is incredible, and they taste amazing. You're not going to taste a better frozen pizza than what you get with a Brew Pub Lots of Matzo Pizza. Make sure to check it out.
Hey, it's Bo Matthews, and if invasive plants and trees have overtaken your pasture, roads, trails, or dams, then you need Missouri Brush Control. Their special forestry mulching equipment helps landowners reclaim their property. Enjoy your land like you've always dreamed of. To learn more, visit MissouriBrushControl.com.
It says here that Gray Bar is a distributor.
Yeah, we support electrical and datacom projects all over the country.
So you can get me the products I need, where and when I need them?
Yeah, thanks to our national logistics network.
Any industry?
Yeah. Construction, industrial plants, schools, hospitals.
So you could say Gray Bar is much more than a distributor.
Yeah, you could say that. When you need a hand powering, connecting, or maintaining your operations, join the thousands of professionals who rely on Gray Bar to help keep them up and running. Yeah, Gray Bar does that.
Happy holidays. This is Ron Kraszewski, Chairman and CEO of Stifel, a global wealth management and investment banking firm proudly based here in downtown St. Louis. With 12 offices across the region, Stifel helps families, individuals, and organizations pursue their financial goals. From our Stifel family to yours, we wish you a joyful holiday season and much success in the year to come.
Stifel, Nicholas & Company, Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
What better way to support your nutrition than with the multivitamin that was created right here in St. Louis? Neovitin Original Multivitamin was created by St. Louis physician Dr. Ribicki to support his own nutrition when he needed it most. Now, Neovitin Original Multivitamin is formulated with sensible doses of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and Dr. Ribicki's proprietary blend to give you nutritional support you won't find anywhere else. Neovitin is now conveniently available through our no-obligation monthly subscription. Cancel or pause at any time, and shipping is free. Support your nutrition with a subscription to Neovitin at neovitin.com today.
This is America's sports voice, KMOX.
A Gray Bar Sports Overline rolls on here on KMOX. Again, we're all over the decision by the St. Louis Blues to fire head coach Craig Berube. We'll get more into that coming up later on in the program. But right now, we're going to shift gears. Always good to talk baseball, and certainly the most compelling national storyline this year in the offseason from baseball has been the everything that happened with Shohei Ohtani, including the contract that he just signed. More details coming out about that over the last few hours as well. And to talk about that, we're going to go to the Quiver River Electric guest line and bring in a guy who covers the Dodgers and Major League Baseball for The Athletic. He is Fabian Ardaya. Fabian, appreciate you taking some time with us on what's a very busy time for people on the Dodgers beat. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Doing all right. So just initially, as you learned about the contract, as you learned about the deferrals, again, over the last and today, we've learned about some of the stipulations that go along with it, with some, opt-outs and things like that. What's your general takeaway on this very unique, very large contract that Ohtani has received?
Yeah, I think when the contract first got announced, it's sort of like the number thrown out there was unprecedented. Like the sort of name thrown out there was unprecedented. I think every kind of detail that's come out since has kind of revealed that to be true. Like, it's such a strange contract. Obviously, with the eye-popping number at the front, $700 million. Understanding the deferrals, like more deferred money than any contract that even been handed out. Period. And then now down to the clause that so long as he's going to be a Dodger for the next 10 years, so long as Andrew Friedman and owner Mark Walter remain in the organization during that time. So like, all kinds of like different little intricacies and details make it such a strange and unique contract for such a unique
clause that you just mentioned. And again, for people who haven't heard, in this contract, Ohtani can opt out if controlling owner Mark Walter or president of baseball operations Andrew Friedman end up losing their roles with the team. The details of this not really completely out. Do you think this was more something that Ohtani wanted, or is this something more that those two individuals put in there? If nothing else, it creates a whole lot of job security for them.
I mean, it certainly creates a lot of job security for Andrew Friedman, but I think it was something that Ohtani sort of had in mind, just sort of knowing how he structured this contract. A lot of it was sort of helping the team out, especially on the front end. The first couple, like earning just $2 million per year over the course of the 10 years. The fact that they don't have to start, the Dodgers don't even have to start funding the deferrals for a couple of years. The fact that their luxury tax hit is smaller than obviously if it was the full 70 per year over those 10 years. Sort of understanding where things are going. I think part of that was sort of wanting to make sure that those gestures were met with, okay, this was the franchise he wanted to sign with, in part because they were willing and able to keep adding, willing and able to keep building around him. Obviously not just this winter, but also understanding that, okay, this sort of setup that he wanted to come to was built in part just because of this ownership group and this front office. So wanting to keep that intact and in place.
What does this do for the Dodgers? Do they make more than $700 million off this, just when you consider the international money? And I mean, the Dodgers are already an international brand, but is this a move that's going to end up being cash flow positive for them even after all $700 million is paid out?
As crazy as to say, I think so. I feel like at least they're well positioned to do so. So you look at the present value of the contract as it's calculated by the PA, and it's more like 400. I think it was like 437 million or something like that. That's sort of like what the present value of the contract is, sort of factoring inflation, factoring in the fact the deferrals, the fact that the deferrals don't have any interest on them. So it's a palatable number in terms of what the Dodgers are paying in current present dollars, even before accounting for the fact of what he can bring in revenue-wise, what he's bringing in to his team, let alone to himself, and the fact that he can sort of live off of it the next decade or so, just sort of knowing that he can sort of make, I think I was told he'd make close to $50 million in endorsements himself as is. So the fact that he can sort of just put that off and understand that, but the Dodgers certainly benefit in terms of cash flow, money-wise, and even off the field, like they're going to be primed and able to maximize his off the field value financially as well.
The Dodgers clearly have not been afraid to spend money. That being said, they have just one World Series, and it came in the COVID year here recently. Does this kind of move, is it now World Series or bust? There's just very little wiggle room for anything less than that?
Yeah, I think they already kind of were in that spot. I think, like you touched upon, like the fact that they made 3 World Series trips during this run, they've won one. The last couple of years, especially the fact that they won 211 regular season games the last 2 years and 1 playoff game. They haven't gotten out of the first round. I think that instilled a little bit more urgency, especially kind of knowing where the other stars, existing stars on the roster are career-wise. Like Freddie Freeman's 34, Mookie Betts is 31. These are guys who are still performing at prime levels, but obviously they're locked up long-term. These are the years that you really want to maximize with these guys, especially now that you've added Shohei Ohtani to the mix. It's all the incentive in the world for the Dodgers to really keep going here.
So Yamamoto is the guy that a lot of people are talking about, and there's obviously some financial flexibility with all the deferrals and everything. How do you evaluate the Dodgers' chances at maybe making that kind of splash?
It's definitely something the Dodgers are interested in. They met with him yesterday, a group that included Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman and Will Smith. Mookie Betts met with him as well. Like, they are definitely in the mix there. Obviously, it's a lot of the same teams that were in the mix for Ohtani. So like a lot of teams that have the money to spend, money to burn, and it's teams like the Giants, teams like the Blue Jays, the Red Sox, the Mets, the Yankees are in there as well. So it's going to be definitely difficult. But I feel like as much as Ohtani made so much sense for the Dodgers, business-wise, roster-wise, as like a logical fit, Yamamoto addresses the more immediate needs for them. Like, they have real pitching needs going into next season. they really have to address that. Signing Yamamoto will help with that. They're in discussions with the Rays on a trade on Tyler Glass now, one that's doesn't seem imminent, but it's one that's sort of been building up here over the last week or so. So they definitely have really making moves on the pitching front.
We're talking with Fabian Ardaya, covers the Dodgers for The Athletic. Let me finish you off with this topic. There was obviously a lot of side stuff going on. At one point, there was the report about him flying to Toronto, which wasn't true, and the story behind that, and Robert from Shark Tank and everything. I mean, it's just been wild. You're obviously well connected. When those type of things were being reported, did you know right away that that's not right, or were you just kind of following along like everybody else?
I mean, I'm obviously like doing my due diligence, checking with people just to make sure what's going on and figure things out. But like, yeah, I think especially going into it, understanding how Shohei Ohtani and his camp have gone about things, how they usually go about things, I would have been a little bit surprised if that's sort of how the news would have come out. Not to say that I wasn't still obviously following up on stuff, still reporting stuff out, and Friday was very busy for me, although Saturday was as well. But yeah, I mean, I think it was sort of like one of those things where you do your due diligence, you're trying to figure out what's going on, but I think at the end of the day, it'll probably be Ohtani making the announcement himself.
He is Fabian Ardaya. He covers the Dodgers, does a fantastic job for it, for The Athletic. If you're not subscribed to The Athletic, you absolutely should be. Christmas is right around the corner. Get yourself a Christmas gift, and you'll be very happy because their baseball coverage is second to none. Fabian, thank you so much for taking some time with us. Have a very happy holiday period, and hopefully we can talk again in the future.
Of course, thanks for having me anytime.
All right, very good. That's Fabian Ardaya joining us here on a Gray Bar Sports Open Line. When we come back, we'll get back into hockey and the Craig Berube firing. Again, if you've got thoughts on it, would love to hear them on the text line, 314-436-7900, 314-436-7900. Tell me your thoughts on the firing of Craig Berube. Scott Warman, Valley Sports Midwest, joins us next. This is a Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
It's Tom Ackerman for Ophthalmology Associates, the doctor's doctors, 314-966-5000 or online at youridoc.com.
What do you mean he's not coming in? This is our busiest time.
The mixologist at Claude's Bar is moving to Manhattan.
I'm already down 2 bar backs. No one's manning front of
Now he needs an equally cosmopolitan replacement.
How am I going to find a new bartender before New Year's Eve?
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
This holiday season, Capital One reminds you to give yourself the gift of 1.5% cash back with the Capital One Quicksilver Card.
Can I earn 1.5% cash back on birds?
Birds?
What if you sent your true love 2 turtle doves plus a partridge in a pear tree?
Sure, but why would anyone want that?
The song was very convincing.
Earn 1.5% cash back on all your holiday purchases with the Capital One Quicksilver Card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Attention taxpayers. If you or your business owe the IRS back taxes or have years of unfiled tax returns, the IRS has green-lighted billions of dollars in tax relief to those facing financial hardship through its tax relief initiatives. If you have a delinquent tax problem and possibly facing wage garnishment, liens, levies, audits, or already in a payment plan, you may now qualify for significant relief. Qualifying and enrolling in this program could stop all collections, settle your tax problem, and may even reduce what you owe by up to 99%. Call the hotline at Tax Help USA to see if you qualify by dialing 800-210-1005. If you or your business owe at least $10,000 in back taxes to the IRS or state, you can now get the help that you need during these hard economic times. Call Tax Help USA to get your free tax assessment to see what you qualify for by dialing 800-210-1005. 800-210-1005. 800-210-1005.
Do you miss the simplicity and reliability of a landline?
With a landline service, conversations were never cut off because your internet stopped working.
Your grandkids couldn't lose your home phone on some playground.
Now, landlines are back and better than ever with Community Phone. Community Phone offers home phone service starting at just $39 a month. And today, get 50% off your first month. With Community Phone, there are no contracts, no internet needed, no complicated wiring. A classic landline, but with the latest upgrades like caller ID, voicemail, spam call blocking, unlimited nationwide calls, and more. And the phone works even if the power goes out. You can even keep your own phone number or get a new one. You can set up your home phone service with Community Phone in 30 seconds, all by yourself. Today, get 50% off your first month when you call 1-866-950-4810. Call 1-866-950-4810 today to get 50% off. 1-866-950-4810.
This is the Graybar Sports Open Line.
Goldschmidt swings and he hits a drive. He hits a slammer.
On America's Sports Voice, KMOX.
It's Graybar Sports Open Line rolling on right here on KMOX. We're very happy to be able to go to the Quiver River Electric Guest Line and welcome in our good friend. You see him on Valley Sports Midwest. You see him doing Valley games, SLU games. He's all over the place. He is Scott Warman. Scott, always appreciate you taking the time with us today. How are you?
Hey, how are you, buddy?
I'm all right. What was your initial reaction when you first heard the news, whether it was late last night or early this morning, that Craig Berube had been relieved of his duties?
So I'm going to give you this personal story just to set it all up here. So I have a new puppy, and, well, he wasn't feeling good. So Scotty did not really sleep much on Monday night. So as soon as the game was over on Tuesday, Matt, Scotty went to sleep. Okay. So when Scott got up at 6 o'clock this morning, he had all these texts. Well, that's how I find out that the Chief was let go. Obviously very surprised like everyone else. Chief obviously is the third winningest coach in Blues history, brought the Stanley Cup to St. Louis for the very first time. I think is well respected by so many. So, yeah, I honestly, buddy, I'm really surprised that Craig was let go. I was covering the press conference today, and I know the Blues have been struggling here of late, and especially with the teams that they lost to over this weekend. So I think that it's one of those things we've seen, and you've done this for a while now too, Matt, is unfortunately you can't, fire a team. Who's the fall guy? Well, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be the coach. And I really hate to see Chief leave, but obviously Doug Armstrong and a lot of his comments that he made today in the press conference still believes in this hockey team, and maybe a fresh voice can help, get things rolling a little bit better, whether it's the power play, 5-on-5, you name it. Obviously, this team has been struggling. There's no doubt about it. And as Doug mentioned today, and rightly so, you talk about a Detroit team that has definitely improved. There's no doubt about it. But with the loss of Larkin and Perron trying to figure out where he is as far as his suspension is concerned, they're two of their top players from an offensive standpoint. And you still give up 6 goals and lose a game to the Red Wings. Very, very disappointing. And so obviously management felt that there was a need to make a change, and we'll see if this can maybe turn the corner for a Blues team that, again, Doug Armstrong thinks that this team is more talented than what the record shows. And I think a lot of people, at least at the beginning of the season, thought the same thing. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's an odd thing because from myself personally, I thought the ceiling on this team was probably just sort of being a playoff qualifier. And they've been in playoff position most of the season. They're not there right now, but they're just on the outside looking in. So you look at it in two ways. You can look at it from a final results perspective, where they're kind of where you would hope they would be, or you look at it from how it's all going down, because the effort at times doesn't seem like it's there. The losses have been ugly. Obviously, they're on a losing streak right now. And sometimes those two things don't totally look the same. And I guess from a Doug Armstrong standpoint, he valued one over the other.
Yeah, and trying to, maybe, strike lightning in a bottle, so to speak, get this team playing better, especially with the man advantage. And because I think that there's a belief that they want and believe that this team still can get maybe one of those playoff spots. I mean, they're really technically not out of it. And still, we're only at the 1/3 pole of the season, so there's still a ton of hockey to be played. But I know talking to Braden Shin a little bit in the locker room after their practice, after the press conference, basically, as he said, and you've heard it time and time again when you have these situations, Matt, is the fact that it ultimately comes down to the players and how are the players going to respond. And you would imagine at least the first, 7-8 games or so in the first couple of weeks, this team is going to be fired up, because that's normally the response you have. Now, can you sustain it after that couple of weeks, 7-8 games that this team has, which pretty much leads you to the end of the calendar year. And I mean, you look at the schedule and what the Blues have coming up for the next couple of weeks. There's no pushovers. I mean, even the Ottawa Senators are a very, very physical team. Just look at the last couple of games they had, not only with Detroit, but also with Florida about a week before that. That's going to be a very physical affair between, or at least from Ottawa's standpoint, tomorrow night between the Blues and the Senators. So it's going to be intriguing to see how this team responds, and hopefully the players respond more positively. I think for me, the one thing, and the power play has struggled, Matt, all season long for whatever reason, because I do believe that this team has way much more talent than to have fewer power play goals than short-handed goals. But we saw the focus from day one in training camp, and you and I have even discussed this on Sports Up Line, is the fact that there's so much focus on the team packing the middle, giving the protection in front of the net to Jordan Binnington, which you did not have this year. And it's almost as if we're starting to see, from a defensive standpoint, they're kind of sliding back into what was transpiring last year, which is very disappointing. I mean, Binnington is playing all-star caliber hockey between the pipes. But if he can't get any help in front of him, and we saw that, unfortunately, a few times in last night's game, has no chance. So, like I said, maybe a new voice, a fresh voice can help this crew out, and the Blues can head in a different direction. But again, I have all the respect in the world. I've told people, getting to know Craig, even just on a personal level, you see him out, he's just, it's Matt, like you and I just sitting in this KMOX sports office or at the ballpark, whatever. He's just a guy. He'll talk to anybody. He can talk about anything. He's just a good dude, and I'm really sad to see Chief go.
This team, I don't know if I've ever seen a hockey team where they're bad at making the small plays that all add up to being big things. The chip that they don't make that results in a team getting in the offensive zone, the check that's not completed, the turnover that seems like nothing at the moment, and then all of a sudden the next thing you know, a goal is being scored against you. We saw some of that in last night's game, but we see it a lot. It's all of these small little mistakes, and they seem to lead to these big losses that they've had.
Exactly. And that's a thing that, we've heard the sound bites. We've talked to Craig Berube about this on a number of occasions already this year. The little things, the little things add up. And it actually goes back to what Doug Armstrong said today, Matt, in his press conference, is the fact that, there's been teams before that have given up that goal, and then all of a sudden you make sure that the opponent doesn't have the momentum, and the floodgates don't open up. Well, just exactly like you're talking about, Matty, is exactly what Army said today, is the fact that this team, for whatever reason, you give up one of those goals, because you didn't do the little things, and then next thing you know, instead of being down a goal or two, you're down 3 or 4 goals. And then it's like, oh my gosh, this is a hill that's so huge to try to climb up. It really is a perplexing situation. And, even look at the record. The Blues are nearly perfect now. After last night, it wasn't, but nearly perfect when scoring first. Well, it shows you that when a Blues team like this year falls behind, it's almost impossible for them to come back and climb out of that rut. And that's a bottom line of, mental toughness a lot of times. And that's what I think maybe the Blues can look into deep, just from a player's standpoint. Be really intrigued to see if, I think Braden Shin is an incredible captain, and to see if everybody's on the same page, and all these other veterans can get everybody on the same page and start, turning this thing in the right direction, like I know they believe they can.
Let me finish you with this, because when you think about Craig Berube, you obviously think about the Stanley Cup run and everything that happened that year, and an in-season coaching change, play Gloria, his speech, the speech that would just go, I can watch that over and over and over and over again, and it's amazing. Do you lament the fact that his Blues tenure ends in the middle of a bad season? It feels like, for a guy who is one of the behemoths now in the history of the organization, it feels icky that it comes to an end like this.
It does. And I can tell you this, and you may have been interning at KFNS when I was working there and Joel Quenneville got let go. And it sort of has, to be honest with you, because we were all talking about this, a bunch of us in the locker room after practice, it kind of has that feel. I mean, Joel Quenneville is by far the winningest coach in Blues history. And I learned a lot from Joel back in the days when I was working at the All Sports radio station when you were interning way back in the day, or when I was working on the Blues radio and I worked with Curbs and Kelly Chase. I learned so much about the game. I have so much respect, mad respect for Joel Quenneville, all the success and all the great teams they have for whatever reason. And a lot of the guys will say because they never found that goaltender, kind of like a Jordan Binnington. That was the one reason why those teams in the early 2000s had never made it. And so it was really disappointing to see a guy the stature of Joel Quenneville, leave, and his assistant at the time, Mike Kitchen, takes it over. And I'm, kind of seeing the same thing here. Here's Craig Berube, like you're talking about. He's really high on the pedestal, and I think will always be very high on the pedestal for obvious reasons, bringing finally the first Stanley Cup championship here to St. Louis. But just to have all the successes that it had even beyond that, third winningest coach in Blues history. But I'll tell you, the other thing I loved about Craig Berube is the fact that he was direct. He was direct with the media. He was direct with his player. There was no BS, none whatsoever. He's going to tell you like it is. You may not like to hear it, but at least if you're a player, and most that I know, they want just honesty. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what Chief gave to his players and, to St. Louis fans. And I think that's pretty much why, Blues fans are completely love what Chief has done. Obviously having the success, as I mentioned, but being so direct and being so honest about a team, even during their losses. Hey, what is this? He wasn't the greatest soundbite, as we know. We wouldn't get large sound bites from him, but Chief was a guy that definitely was going to tell it like it is. I think a lot of people also love that part of Craig Berube. So, yeah, I agree with you, Maddie. I think this is a big loss, but I also believe that if Craig wants to find a job, I don't think it's going to take very long for him to find another head coaching position in the National Hockey League, because I think there's a lot of respect for that man around the league.
He is our good friend, Scott Warman. You see him on the studio, in the studio on Bally Sports Midwest, doing games all over the place. Next time we have you on, we'll talk a little more basketball, but really wanted to get your thoughts and your reflections on Craig Berube and what he has meant to this organization. So, Scott, thank you so much for taking some time with us today.
Always appreciate it, buddy. Good to chat.
Scott Warman joining us here on the program. Appreciate his time with us as we look back at the tenure that was Craig Berube's time with the Blues. Obviously, the high point, winning the Stanley Cup. The low point, probably right now. Last season and this season, things have just not gone well. If you've got thoughts, we've got time to take your phone calls. I'd love to hear from you. I want to open this up a little bit and hear your thoughts. I think most people are not happy with this decision by the Blues. We will talk with you if you want to talk with us. You can call or you can text 314-436-7900, 314-436-7900. That's how you call. That's how you text. Or you can tweet at me at Matt Pauley on air, MattPauley on air. How are you feeling with the decision by the Blues to fire Craig Berube? We'll take your phone calls in the next segment. Call in now as we roll on with the Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
Nobody wants a surprise in their jelly donut.
It's toothpaste?
That's because the middle is the most important part. At Gray Bar, we're at the middle of electrical and datacom jobs across the country, connecting installers, facility managers, and business owners with smart solutions for their most challenging projects, which means stocking and delivering crucial products on time and on budget with no surprises, thanks to our nationwide logistics network. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Is the fur attached to the top of Santa's boots or the bottom of Santa's pants? Some holiday mysteries may never be solved, but with holiday scratchers and draw games from the Missouri Lottery, finding the perfect gift isn't one of them. Play responsibly.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing. Together millions of things for our planet. This holiday season, invest in some LED Christmas lights. They use significantly less energy than regular bulbs. When we each share our one thing, it becomes a million things for our planet. What's your one thing?
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. The IRS just rolled out a new program to help struggling taxpayers more easily resolve their tax problems. It's called the Taxpayer Relief Initiative, and it opens up powerful new options for people looking to get back on the right track with the IRS. And no one knows this program like the professionals at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution company. They've resolved over $1 billion in tax debt for their clients and have the expertise and experience to help you. One easy call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries of wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Make today the beginning of your fresh start with the IRS. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief now for your free confidential consultation.
Call 800-682-9928. 800-682-9928. 800-682-9928.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Learn to make money 5 ways with rental real estate. Double your money with apartments and get your map to financial freedom. And that map starts with a free workshop. Sign up now at lifestylesunlimited.com. Click on the Join Free Workshop tab and attend online or in person. That's lifestylesunlimited.com. Lifestylesunlimited.com. Again, that's lifestylesunlimited.com. Limited seating, unlimited potential.
Hi, this is Ken Newbold for Newbold Toyota and Newbold BMW, a family-owned dealership group that has been around for 50 years as a Toyota dealer and 25 years in O'Fallon, Illinois. So come see us. That's Newbold Toyota in O'Fallon or newboldtoyota.com. You'll be sold on Newbold.
Hey guys, it's Dave, Rach, and Wheels from The Glover Show, wishing you a happy holidays and a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Let's go! Happy holidays from KMOX.
Back at it on a Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Earlier today, Doug Armstrong meeting with the media, the Blues general manager, after making the decision last night after the loss to the Red Wings to move on from the only coach who has ever won the Blues or been part of he didn't win it, but he led the Blues to a winning of the Stanley Cup. Doesn't seem like that long ago, but in other ways, it feels like it was a really, really long time ago. To me, it feels like an unnecessary move at this time. That's my thought. What's your thought? 314-436-7900. 314-436-7900. That's how you call. That's how you text. You can also tweet at me at Matt Pauley on air. First up, we go to Phyllis. Hey, Phyllis, you're on Sports Open Line.
Okay. I feel that I don't think it's right that the coach should get the first blame for a team that's playing badly. And I think that it's a big mistake that Craig Berube was fired. And I mean, if the players don't want to do what they're told, they're the ones that should be let go, not Craig Berube, because Craig he did his best. He did everything he was supposed to do. It's just, I guess some players didn't want to go along with him.
Yeah, Phyllis, I certainly appreciate the phone call, and I think you speak for a lot of Blues fans. Now, look, you can't get rid of an entire team. There's a lot of contracts on this roster that you just can't get rid of. The entire NHL is basically capped out right now, and you can't move a lot of these players. So I agree. It's more on roster construction and more on the players who are involved than anything else. And I'm not absolving Craig Berube from his involvement in what has turned into a very inconsistent team, but I would not put him at the top of the list in terms of people that I would be blaming. Let's grab Jim, who's given us a call. Hey, Jim, you're on Sports Open Line.
Yeah, I think it was a bad move on Armstrong's part. They got rid of some good ball players or puck handlers, like David Perron and Petro, and but to take away good players or not sign them, that's crazy. And then blame it on. I mean, he may not be blaming Berube, but to put it on his neck, that's terrible.
Yeah, I think he is blaming. You know what? I know he said he didn't. I appreciate the phone call, Jim. Look. Actions speak louder than words. Actions speak louder than words. Doug Armstrong can go speak to the media And he can say that this isn't about blaming Craig Berube. He can talk about how much he appreciates Berube and everything he's done and the friendship and all that stuff. And I'm not trying to be totally dismissive of that. But the bottom line is, if something's going wrong and somebody loses their job because of it, there is inferred blame, right? Like, if something is going on with this radio show that's not right, and I walk in and I no longer have a job, then I am being blamed for whatever's going wrong. Whatever you do for a living, if you lose your job and it's connected to some type of underperforming, even if it's like organizational wide underperforming, you are being blamed. Actions speak louder than words. So yes, there is blame here. The blame is being put on Craig Berube because he lost his job. He's the guy who lost his job. The Blues are an incredibly inconsistent team. They're on a losing streak right now. They wanted to do something about it. They fired the coach. There's blame. And if you try to say that there was not blame involved in that transaction, I would disagree with you as much as I could disagree with anybody. Rob has given us a call. Hey, Rob, you're on Sports Open Line.
Hey, thanks a lot for taking my call. I just want to say that the Blues, if you notice, when Minnesota fired their coach, then they went on a winning streak. The opposite will happen with the Blues. This will be a disaster. It was never Berube's fault. The way I read it is, when they won in Las Vegas, they won in overtime, and then they came back here and played them. They were up 3-1 after the first period, then they hit the wall, the energy wall. And so it carried over for the next 3 games. The team was in energy deficit, and that's a science issue. It's not Berube. I think they made a huge mistake. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, appreciate the phone call. And we've heard you talk about energy deficit before when we've been talking Cardinals baseball, and I know you're very much into that. I'm not going to argue with you one direction or another. I don't get it. It just seems so incredibly unnecessary. That's the word that I keep coming back to. Unnecessary. And I do think there's going to be a momentary boost. This team's probably going to win a few games. That always happens when you change a coach. But long term, through the rest of the season, like eventually that boost, that residue, plus the good stuff from the new coach, that's all going to start to dissipate out. And they're just going to go back to being the team that they were. And with all due respect to all the parties involved, including new coach Drew Bannister, who I bluntly don't know much about beyond the fact that he was coaching at Springfield in the AHL, I just don't buy that he's a better coach than Craig Berube. I don't buy that for the rest of the season, he's going to get more out of this team. He might get more out of this team for the next week, for the next 2 weeks, for the next 3 weeks. But let's talk on February 1st and see where the club is at. I don't know. I don't like it. Don't like it at all. We'll go through some of what Doug Armstrong had to say earlier today. We'll do that next. It's Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
This time of year is all about family. It's the laughter, the stories, and the cherished memories that make the holiday season so special. I've often wished that there was a way to bottle up those good times and those voices that mean so much to me. I've felt a responsibility and an obligation to make sure my grandchildren and their children know our family's history. Now, with Sound Story, I've done just that, and I'm so happy I did. Sound Story gave me the opportunity to spend an hour with an experienced interviewer who helped me turn those memories into a professionally produced recording that will stay in my family for generations to come. This year, give your family the gift that truly captures the spirit of the season with Sound Story. Visit mysoundstory.com to view the list of experienced interviewers, including KMOX's Dave Glover, Debbie Monterey, Carol Daniel, and Tom Ackerman, who would all love to help you preserve your most precious memories. Enter code KMOX for 10% off your Sound Story. That's mysoundstory.com, code KMOX for 10% off the gift that you'll never regret giving. Sound Story, for you, for them, forever.
Before you sell your home, you should know the facts. This is Debbie Monterey. What's your home's true value? Which realtor will get you the most money? And as a seller, is the market still in your favor? I recently spent some time with Gloria Liu with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and here's what she told me. The market is still in the seller's favor. However, these next few months before the holidays represent the last prime time to sell your home. Gloria said everyone knows you can't time the real estate market, but you can sell your home in the months that are statistically the most profitable months to sell real estate. For the past 20 years, Gloria Liu has been successfully selling homes in our area. How has she been so successful? Well, she already has the buyers, which allows her to guarantee to sell your home at your pre-agreed upon price and time frame, or she'll buy it herself. Call Gloria Liu at 314-325-6888. That's 314-325-6888, or find her online at gloriahasthebuyers.com.
Conditions apply. Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
During open enrollment, it's crucial to carefully review and compare different plans to choose the one that best suits your needs. With the Pauley Agency, you're not just getting insurance, you're getting peace of mind. Visit thepaulieyagency.com to learn more. Let us help tailor a plan just for you. Don't wait until it's too late. Protect your health and those you care about with the Pauley Agency. Call 636-222-2149 or visit thepaulieyagency.com for a free personalized quote today.
Carol Daniel here for PNC C-Speak, the language of executives. This month, we welcome Dave Peacock, CEO of Advantage Solutions. When asked what approaches have remained constant in his industrious career, Dave quickly replied, make the decision and then make the decision right. C-Speak shares stories and pioneering approaches of successful business leaders that we hope will spark growth in your business. Listen today at KMOX.com/PNC C-Speak or wherever you get your podcasts.
KMOX KEZK HD2 St. Louis.
This is KMOX, the trusted voice of St. Louis. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
This is CBS News on the Hour, presented by Indeed.com.
I'm Jennifer Kuiper. The U.S. House of Representatives votes to begin a formal impeachment inquiry into President Biden. CBS's Scott McFarland on Capitol Hill.
A party line vote tonight. The resolution is adopted. Will launch another attempt to impeach a U.S. president. Republicans approved a formal impeachment inquiry alleging President Biden might have benefited from his son's foreign business dealings and has stonewalled them.
What are you scared of? What facts do you not want to come out?
Democrats blasted the move.
They've been at it for so long. And of course, Donald Trump wants to keep it going into the next year for the campaign season.
You think Trump's directing this?
Oh, completely.
That's Democrat Congressman Jamie Raskin of New York. The president's son, Hunter, is defending himself against years of attacks by Republicans and says his father has had no financial involvement in his business affairs. Earlier today, Hunter Biden ignored a congressional subpoena to appear privately for a deposition before Republican investigators.
I've been the target of the unrelenting Trump attack machine, shouting, "Where's Hunter?" Well, here's my answer. I am here.
And Hunter Biden says he'll only testify in public. A good day on Wall Street as stocks surged and the Dow closed at a record high above 37,000. Investors welcomed the Fed's news that its key interest rate would remain unchanged and rate cuts coming next year. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger.
Year to date, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is up almost 12%. The S&P 500 is ahead by 22.6%, and the Nasdaq Composite is up almost 41% this year, driven in part by the big names in the technology sector.
A man is charged in the murder of a Detroit synagogue president. WWJ's Luke Sloan.
28-year-old Michael Jackson Bolanos has been charged with felony murder, home invasion, and lying to a police officer in the murder of 40-year-old Samantha Wohl. Wayne County Prosecutor Kim Worthy.
There are no facts to suggest that this defendant knew Ms. Walls, and there are certainly no facts to suggest that this was a hate crime.
This is the second time a suspect has been taken into custody in Wohl's murder. There were no charges for the first suspect, but Detroit's Jewish community is still in mourning. Rabbi Asher Lopatin.
I'm just so sad and devastated that anyone would do this to such a precious soul.
Luke Sloan for CBS News, Detroit.
Pope Francis tells a Mexico news service that he has decided to vastly simplify the elaborate funeral rites for a pontiff and be the first one to be buried outside the Vatican in more than a century. The Pope turns 87 on Sunday. This is CBS News.
Staples stores provide innovative products and services for small business, remote workers and learners, even teachers and parents. Explore more at your local Staples store.
Mid-America's most trusted source for news. KMOX.
At 7:03, we have clear skies and 42 degrees downtown of the Arch. I'm Maria Aquina. Our top story this hour. A 15-year-old has been certified as an adult and is now charged with murder, second degree, and armed criminal action. Deshaun Harris is accused of shooting and killing 38-year-old Kay Johnson, who was found shot to death in her car this past January following a carjacking in the 4700 block of Compton. Harris remains jailed without bond. Firearm owners will have to wait at least another month before knowing exactly what items they are required to register with the Illinois State Police under the state's new assault weapons ban.
January 1st is the deadline for submitting those registrations. Capital News Illinois reports the General Assembly's Joint Committee on Administrative Rules took no action Tuesday on proposed rules governing the registration process, choosing instead to wait another month to review them. Under the assault weapons ban lawmakers passed earlier this year, people who already owned certain weapons and attachments before the law took effect have until January 1st of 2024 to register them with the state police. Meanwhile, the assault weapons ban faces a number of legal challenges in federal court and could soon end up before the U.S. Supreme Court. Tom Ackerman, KMOX News.
Meanwhile, the Missouri Higher Education Loan Authority, or MOHELA, is facing a class action lawsuit from borrowers across the country who are seeking more than $5 million in damages. The Post-Dispatch reports the Chesterfield-based loan servicer is accused of taking hours to answer calls and then failing for more than a year to process loan forgiveness applications. That means people who took jobs in the public sector a decade ago with the promise of federal loan forgiveness are still making payments while their loans accrue interest. 2 months ago, the U.S. Department of Education said that it was penalizing MOHELA for failing to send millions of borrowers their billing statements on time. After St. Louis County health officials raised the alarm for an increase in COVID cases, Dr. Alex Garza at SSM Health says other respiratory illnesses are up as well.
RSV and flu, they're continuing to climb, but nothing super significant right now, but they are climbing.
Dr. Garza says COVID numbers at SSM are trending up as well, but hospitalizations are nothing compared to what we saw when he was the leader of the pandemic task force. And in a KMOX follow-up, we told you almost 2 weeks ago now that the mask mandate was returning for BJC healthcare employees. That started today. The employees will now have to wear a mask while treating patients because of all of those respiratory viruses. A BJC spokesperson says the mandate does not apply to all patients. In our forecast for tonight, it should be a pretty nice night, a little bit cold. But what do we want for December? Here's Dave Murray with our forecast.
Clear skies and chilly times for any evening plans around town, and it gets cold again overnight. Again, mostly clear skies. I think dropping through the 40s this evening. 26 will do it for the low. On Thursday, plenty of sunshine, 55. Thursday night, partly to mostly clear, 32. And Friday, partly sunny and 55. Lots of clouds around on Saturday with a couple of sprinkles. I'm meteorologist Dave Murray for the Voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
Right now, it's 40 degrees in St. Peters, 41 in Florissant and downtown at the Arch. We have 42 degrees. I'm Maria Aquina, KMOX News.
This is the Graybar Sports Open Line.
Goldschmidt swings and he hits a drive. He hits a slammer.
On America's Sports Voice, KMOX.
We are back at it. Hour 2 of a Graybar Sports Open Line will take you to 8 o'clock this evening. At your service rolls your way this evening. Brad Young in the house, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. I wonder if he's got thoughts on Craig Berube being let go. We'll talk with him coming up in our final segment of this hour. Also coming up this hour, we'll talk with Tamar Scher from Channel 4. Now, First Alert 4, they did their big rebrand. We'll talk with her, get her thoughts on Craig Berube being let go, and then we'll talk some Billikens basketball with Stu Durando. He'll join us near the bottom of the hour. If you want to chime in on everything that's gone down with Craig Berube being let go, we certainly will take your phone calls, your text messages, your tweets, 314-436-7900. That's how you call. That's how you text. You can tweet at me at Matt Pauley on air, MattPauley on air. Got a text message from the 618 said, I'm a season ticket holder, but I won't attend another game until Doug Armstrong is gone. You're not going to be attending a game for a really long time then. I'm not trying to... If you're a season ticket holder, either you have to drop your season tickets or you're going to just not be going because Doug Armstrong's not going anywhere. And I disagree with him vehemently on this decision. I can't disagree with it anymore. Again, I keep using the word unnecessary. It is so incredibly unnecessary to fire Craig Berube with where the Blues are at right now. That doesn't mean that I don't continue to believe that Doug Armstrong is a guy who can rebuild this roster. Now, have there been some swing and misses from him in, really since the Stanley Cup? There's been a lot of things going against it. Blues gave some guys some raises coming off the cup. Then you have COVID and the salary cap stops moving up and everybody's capped out and you're just trying to figure out where to go from there. Look, I try to be fair about everything I talk about. And clearly there have been some things that have gone against the Blues that are out of their control, but some things that have gone against the Blues in their control as well. They've made some contractual decisions. They've made some either or decisions that they chose the wrong side. And that does fall back on Doug Armstrong, without a doubt. He spoke earlier today at the Centene Community Ice Center and opened up thanking Berube and looking back at everything that he had accomplished as the Blues head coach.
Obviously, I'd like to thank Craig. He and I started to work together in 2016. He came in as a coach of our American Hockey League affiliated team, came up here as an associate coach, helped right a ship and take it to a championship. We built a friendship over the years, and it's difficult to have that talk with him last night. He's a true professional. We talked a little bit. We had a beer. We reminisced for a second. And now my job is to move forward, and Craig will now regroup, and he'll land on his feet. He's too good of a coach not to be in this league.
That is Doug Armstrong speaking earlier today as he continued on, and he talked about his responsibility for the situation.
I feel personally responsible for the situation that we're in, and I also hope that the people that I just talked to feel personally responsible too. If they don't, that's their decision. But it's not a great day, but it's a new day, and now we move forward.
Not a great day. It's a new day. Okay. He was asked about, or he spoke about really the overall body of work and where the team is at right now compared to where it was when he took over.
You come to an organization because you make it better and you want to leave it in a better spot. When I got here in 2008, we were better for a long time. If I get fired in the next hour or I get hit by a bus in the next hour, I don't feel today I've left it any better than where I found it. And that's an awful feeling.
That's a damning statement. That's a really damning statement. A guy who's been around for a while. Now, again, trying to be fair. If he got fired in the next hour, got hit by a bus, like he said, in the next hour, he would leave the organization as an organization that has won a Stanley Cup. And when he got here, they had not won a Stanley Cup. So let's be fair. The organization is in a different place now than it was then. Blues fans were able to experience something that is a top moment in their sports fandom life. So I don't want to be completely dismissive of that. But for him to sit there and say that he's trying to build something and grow something, and he's got a long tenure, and right now it feels like he hasn't left the team in a better spot than when he got here, that's a damning statement. And the next thing is, well, what's the path to get better? What's the path to find a way to start to, because again, it's a roster issue. It is a roster issue. It was not a coaching issue. It is a roster issue. So if it's a roster issue and you're up against the cap and the roster just doesn't kind of fit together, even if it was underperforming a little bit, especially recently, other than allowing contracts to expire, trying to sell off a few pieces if you possibly can, as they did last year, but that's tough. That's not an easy thing to do when a lot of teams are in the same type of cap situation. I don't know what type of, and when I say immediate, I'm talking like within the next year, between the end of this season and really all of next year. Fixing this in a big way doesn't seem like something that can be done in a relatively short amount of time. Armstrong claim says this is not a move that they wanted to make.
And it's not something I wanted to do. It's not something that I wanted to start the season in or having to do, but it's an area where we find ourselves that, the definition of insanity, keep doing the same thing and think things are going to change. And it cost a great man his role on the team because things weren't changing.
I always how do I say this? When you have a press conference in kind of a crisis situation, and I think firing the coach, it's obviously more of a negative atmosphere than a positive atmosphere. I always try to give the benefit of the doubt to the person speaking, because that's a tough thing to do. That's a tough thing for Doug Armstrong to stand up. But to say that it cost a great man his job, well, you're the guy who fired him. Like, it didn't have to. You chose to have it cost a great man his job. When you say that, it makes it sound like you're an observer. Well, man, that situation cost a great man his job. As I've stood out of the way and just watched this thing play out. No, you fired him. You did it, not anybody else. It cost a great man his job, as you would say, because you made the decision for it to cost him his job. Yeah, didn't like that. As far as what he would like to see on the ice, something that was talked about a lot, consistency.
What I would have liked to see from our team was a more consistent game. It's uncomfortable when you go to the arena every night and you're not really sure what your team is going to look like. You're not really sure what to expect. That's something that we haven't felt here for a long time. I don't want to dwell on last year. So last year we entered the season with the glass half full, thinking it's the last dance. We've got veteran players on 1-year deals and they're going to go out with the blaze of glory, and we just didn't find any footing, and so we made changes. But if you look at the last 82 games plus however many this year, 110-ish games, like, our power plays at or near the bottom, our penalty kill is at or near the bottom, and our point total is at or near the bottom. At some point, you have to make changes.
I don't disagree with that. And again, it's a whole lot easier to fire a coach than to make major changes on the roster. There's just a lot of changes you cannot make because of the cap situation and the financials that go along with it. I get that. So I'm not trying to say that he shouldn't make changes. That's not the change that I would have make. What now? You ask something that I always ask of my callers when we're doing Cardinal postgame shows. Somebody says, "Well, I don't like this." Okay, then what would you rather like? What's the answer? If Oliver Marmol made this decision and you didn't like this decision, well, what better decision would have there been? And that's kind of that's the standard that I hold callers to. And I'm being a little bit hypocritical right now because I can sit here and say I agree with Doug Armstrong that changes had to be made. I don't think that firing Craig Berube was the right decision, but I don't know what the right decision was. Last thing from Doug Armstrong, talked about the team really getting outplayed in a lot of games.
And the two games that come to the forefront for me were the Phoenix game and the Buffalo game, where we outscored the opposition, but we didn't win the game, if that makes any sense. Like, we outscored who we played, but you didn't walk away saying, we outplayed that team. We won that game. And there was more nights than not where I felt we didn't win the game. You're going to be the better team in this league and lose. That happens. Goalies stand on their head. Pucks hit a shaft. Pucks hit a post. Things just go your way. But we didn't win enough small battles during a game to win enough games. Not by the score, but by the eye test of you are a better team.
Doug Armstrong speaking earlier today. Let's grab a quick phone call before we get to break. Reed, I've got just a quick moment for you. You're on Sports Open Line.
Good evening. I just got a question to ask, maybe one or two questions. I'll be quick about it. why do you think that most of the Blues free agents that didn't resign or got traded in the year wanted out? Because they seen the roster that Doug Armstrong wanted to build wasn't going to work. And sure enough, look what happened this year. Number one. Number two, who do you think you wanted to fire Berube? Was it the ownership that said, Doug, he's got to go, he's not getting through the players? Or was it the Armstrong went to the ownership and said, hey, my buddy isn't getting through the players anymore, he's got to go? When he built this team, this is not great Berube. This is a player's firing of the coach. This roster stinks. Except for about 3 players, this roster stinks. Have a good evening. Thank you.
All right, Reed, appreciate the phone call. So I do think Doug Armstrong went to ownership. I think this started with Armstrong, and ownership signed off on it. I also think one of the we see a lot of Blues players leave the Blues and have more success with other teams. I think because other teams have better roster construction. It's the square peg and the circle hole, whatever that cliche is. That the Blues are asking a lot of players to do things that aren't really what they're great at. And it's because they just don't have a whole lot of high-end talent. You start with high-end talent, and then everybody kind of fills in roles after that. Well, when you're asking, Torrey Krug to be a top-level defenseman, that's not his role. He's a good NHL player. The Blues have him in the wrong spot because they don't have enough guys better than him on the roster. So when guys leave the Blues, they go to other teams that have better players, and then those players get to be more suited for the type of player they are, and they have more success. It's a Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
Get into the holiday spirit and listen to The Christmas Station, 102.5 KEZK, for all the sounds of the season, from Mariah to the holiday classics. Plus, keep rocking around the Christmas tree no matter where you are with 102.5 KEZK on the free Odyssey app. Turning your home into a winter wonderland? Ask your smart speaker to play 102.5 KEZK. Enjoy the holiday season your way on the radio, on your smart speaker, and on the free Odyssey app.
When you retire, you leave a lot behind. The daily grind, the long commute, and yes, even the alarm clock. But the one thing that you take with you, a tax bill. Oh, and did you know that income taxes could be your single largest expense in retirement? Good news, though. Steve All and his team at the All Financial Group, they can show you ways to pay less to Uncle Sam with the right tax planning. Kick off 2024 with a new tax plan and potentially more money in your pocket and less in Uncle Sam's. Join Steve and the team for this exclusive educational workshop focusing solely on taxes in retirement. Join us January 25th or January 30th at Stone Summit. These events are complimentary, but you must qualify to attend. Call 636-230-8824 or visit yourmoneymattersstl.com. Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Neither the firm nor its agents or representatives may give tax or legal advice.
Hey, everybody, this is Charlie Brennan. You know that for more than 25 years, I've been a patient at Ophthalmology Associates, the home of the doctors, Greg Birdie, Ranjan Malhotra, Robert Brusati, Andy Royer. Also, my wife, kids, and sister all go there for their eye care as well. After all, these doctors have 3 convenient locations. They have an excellent experienced staff, the latest technology, and a sizable optical department on location. They're also available for emergency calls. And now, the doctors are pleased to welcome Dr. Samuel Berry to their practice. Dr. Berry is a cornea surgeon with the latest knowledge and techniques for advanced eye care and treatment. In Sullivan, 270 in Manchester, and St. Peter's. Birdie, Malhotra, Brusati, Royer, and now Berry. The best doctors to see for your best vision in St. Louis. 314-966-5000, youridoc.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements.
STL Today is named Under Law 2023's best St. Louis law firm. We'll continue to make a difference, one case at a time.
When you're injured, call Under Law at 314 or 618-9000000.
Hello, everyone. This is Mike Claiborne.
And this is Matt Pauley inviting you to follow the Redbirds this offseason on the Cardinals Countdown to Opening Day show presented by Ameren.
Thursday night at 6 on your home of the St. Louis Cardinals.
KMOX. The Gray Bar Sports Open Line continues here on a Wednesday night. Tomorrow night, countdown to opening day. By the way, we're going to be live at Cardinal Nation. Mike Claiborne and myself, we're going to be recording a conversation with the voice of the Cardinals, John Rooney, and that's going to begin at 2 o'clock. So come on by to Cardinal Nation Restaurant at Ballpark Village tomorrow, 2 o'clock. Get yourself a meal. We'll have all of us there recording tomorrow night's countdown to opening day, and you can park and get validation for your parking, 3 hours of parking. So, yeah, let's come on by Ballpark Village coming up tomorrow. Let's go back to the Quiver River Electric guest line. Very happy to welcome on our friend, Tamar Scher. You see her now on First Alert 4. That's what Channel 4 is now called. They've ditched the blue. They've gone to the red, and she joins us right now. Tamar, appreciate your time. How are you?
Hey, Matt. Good. How are you? Yes, you're right. Very, very red in the new First Alert 4 studio.
That's it's a good look. I like it.
We like to say City SC red, Cardinal red, whatever you want to call it, but our sports team likes to have some red in there. It's a big change, but we're thrilled to be in Maryland Heights.
All right, so let's get into the news of the day. What was your reaction last night when you found out that Craig Berube had been relieved of his duties?
Well, first of all, I think I was as stunned as everyone else, all the Blues fans out there. I was ready to, all right, call it quits for the day, and all of a sudden I get an alert that had happened. I got an email that Craig Berube had been fired, and 28 games into a season is not the situation I thought the Blues were in. I knew the Blues were struggling. I knew their top guys weren't performing like the way that we thought they should to start this season. But to fire head coach Craig Berube this early on, someone who has won the only Stanley Cup for the Blues, this city, came as a big shock to me.
Here's where I'm at. Like there's a lot of flaws about this team. There's a lot of things that have not gone well. I blame it bluntly more on roster construction than I do on coaching. And that doesn't mean that Craig Berube doesn't have any influence and any culpability in this. Clearly he does, but it just doesn't feel like to me that he was the biggest issue for what was going on with this team. Would you generally agree or disagree with that?
I agree with that. I think Doug Armstrong even put it bluntly earlier today when he was speaking to the media. He said it, and I heard this is on your station as well. But he said he would get the vibe after the game of, we just didn't work hard enough. That can't be what this team looks like in the first 30 games of the season. You can't have guys afterwards saying, well, we just didn't put our biggest effort forward. We just didn't work hard enough. We'll get them next time. Well, that's how you result in that back and forth play. Now they lost their season high 4th straight. That's not a recipe for success. That's not fully entirely on the coaching staff. And I think, when you talk about is Berube the fall guy, there is some responsibility because last season didn't turn out the way that the Blues wanted to, the way fans wanted to. This season isn't getting off to a great start. Jake Neighbors doing great, but that isn't the top guy that you thought was going to be the top guy coming into this season. And I think that does have to do with some of the will and the effort around the locker room.
What I have a hard time kind of rationalizing out is how a Doug Armstrong can sit here and say, well, we're not blaming Craig Berube for what's going wrong, but then in the same sense, you're firing the guy for what's going wrong, which is the ultimate blame. So I understand that Doug Armstrong had a tough job to do. He fired a very important and very, somebody who's very popular and all at the same time trying to respect and honor everything he'd done with the Blues. But it doesn't calculate out when he gets fired, yet the statement is that it's not that he's being blamed.
And you said it too. I don't know what the answer would be, though. I understand that. I don't fully see how firing a coach, like I said, 30 games into a season is the right move. But Armstrong did say it. It would be the definition of insanity to say, well, we can't fix it now, but let's just change nothing because eventually it'll get worked out by just keeping things the same. So that's why I said the phrase fall guy, because something did need to change. You can't clean house at this point in the season. That's not how it works. So what's going on behind the scenes, we don't know. Do I think Craig Berube is a fantastic coach? Absolutely. Will he get a great job? Absolutely. I'm not denying any of that. I just think that something needed to shake up the system. I don't know what this will do. Now, does this say the Blues aren't hungry for the playoffs because they're willing to make this big of a change now? I don't know if that is the answer either, but this is a very interesting move that I don't know. And I understand why fans are stunned is my point exactly, because I'm also stunned how you do this so early on in the season.
Armstrong made it clear that he still believes in this team, still thinks they can accomplish things this year, still thinks that they can be a playoff team. Do you agree in his belief the way this roster is currently put together?
That's so tricky because I don't think the people that they needed to produce early on are doing what they're needing to do. I think even when you heard from Captain Braden Shen earlier today, he's speechless because it's your leader now taken away. Braden Shen has to step up even more so now as that locker room leader because they don't have the ultimate leader right now, and they will have an interim head coach. But like Armstrong said, they're open to all options of what that looks like. Now, in the past, the Blues have been successful with an interim head coach. You know, you see a Craig Berube and what he was able to do when he came in and quickly was able to win a Stanley Cup for this team. So there has been success in the past when you do bring in that new leadership with the Blues in Craig Berube. I don't know now. I do believe Armstrong in saying that, you know, they are hungry to get to the playoffs. They are hungry to get back there. And that's why they maybe made a decision early to shake things up because they don't want it to fester into what they saw last season and just kind of throw their hands up and say, okay, this is not the season we wanted, because they were adamant that's not what they wanted this season to be. But I think it is going to be, like he said, he hates the word rebuild, but it is going to kind of have to be that rebuilding, retooling, whatever you want to call it, because this is a major move. You're taking away that leader that people respect in the locker room.
And now what a night it's going to be for Drew Bannister tomorrow. He doesn't even get to St. Louis in time to coach the team. I assume there'll be a morning skate tomorrow, but then he's going to jump right into coaching. He's coached some of these guys at Springfield, but he doesn't have a whole lot of lead time going into his first game as an NHL head coach.
So you have to think at least the first 6 games that he's going to coach are going to be a little rocky. You got to give the guys some slack because you don't know how this team is going to take to a new person, hyping them up and giving them speeches. You don't know what he's going to be able to do because you just haven't seen them together yet. So I do believe we'll be able to see him tomorrow in morning skate, and that'll be a good sign of, okay, what is this guy like? I'm sure, you know, Armstrong has done this for a while. I think he knows, you know, he put this guy into the group for a reason, and he's been with the organization, so he's not a completely new face that they're hiring on as interim. So, Armstrong is still wanting to make sure that the search is fluid and open, and he's not going to talk about that. He made that very clear, but we'll see how the next week or so goes, because I think it's going to be a little bit of chaos trying to get their feet under themselves.
She is Tamar Scher, sports reporter, sports anchor with First Alert 4. Follow her on Twitter at Tamar_SHER. Tamar, always appreciate talking with you. Hopefully we'll see you soon.
Appreciate you, Matt. Thanks a lot.
All right, very good. There's Tamar Scher joining us on the program. We are going to switch gears again. We'll talk a little Billikens basketball. Stu Durand. You know what? He should change his first name from Stu to Slew. That would be on brand. Stu Durando covers the Billikens for the Post-Dispatch and STL today. He joins us in just a moment. It's a Graybar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
Broadcasting from the Underline Tree Lawyers. GetJim.com studios.
KMOX.
Here's an unexpected holiday surprise for all the last-minute shoppers. Now through December 17th, all of Diamond's Direct Diamond Classics are 25% off. That's all diamond earrings, all diamond bracelets, all diamond pendants, an incredible 25% off. Special financing, too. Get the perfect gift at the best value price all year. 25% savings on all diamond earrings, bracelets, and pendants. Now through the 17th only, and only at Diamonds Direct. Get details, directions, and more at diamondsdirect.com. Diamonds Direct. Your love, our passion.
Says here that Graybar is a distributor.
Yeah, we support electrical and datacom projects all over the country.
So you can get me the products I need, where and when I need them?
Yeah, thanks to our national logistics network.
Any industry?
Yeah, Construction, industrial plants, schools, hospitals.
So you could say Gray Bar is much more than a distributor.
Yeah, you could say that. When you need a hand powering, connecting, or maintaining your operations, join the thousands of professionals who rely on Gray Bar to help keep them up and running. Yeah, Gray Bar does that.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-700-6898. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-700-6898. That's 800-700-6898 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-700-6898. 800-700-6898.
Merry Christmas.
Wow, another popcorn tin? Gee, thanks.
Not this year. This time I went to Pop Pop Hooray.
You mean the place with over 50 flavors of popcorn?
Yep, and I filled your bucket with 3 flavors I know you'd love.
Only 3?
I also got you this gift card so you can try as many flavors as you want.
Oh my God, I love it. This is the best gift ever.
Pop Pop Hooray, located at 256 South Florissant Road or online at poppopHooray.com. More flavor, more fun, endless popability.
Reinhold Flooring is dedicated to delivering top-notch flooring solutions with a commitment to customer satisfaction. We ensure your needs are met with the highest level of service. We stand firmly behind our work and make things right when issues arise. Based in St. Louis, we take pride in offering a comprehensive range of services, from crafting custom area rugs to providing manufacturer-approved floor cleaning supplies and even free in-home estimates. We cater to the builder and commercial business with high-quality flooring solutions. Learn more at ReinholdFlooring.com.
KMOX welcomes Trans-Siberian Orchestra, The Ghosts of Christmas Eve, the best of TSO and more, December 17th at 2:30 and 7 p.m. at Enterprise Center. This year's tour promises a new and larger presentation of the beloved holiday tradition, The Ghosts of Christmas Eve, which has captured the hearts of multiple generations. Tickets on sale now at $1 of each ticket sold to the matinee show. Or go to SSN Health Cardinal Glennon. Info at odyssey.com/KMOX. This is the Gray Bar Sports Open Line.
Goldschmidt swings and he hits a drive. He hits a slammer.
On America's Sports Voice, KMOX.
About 25 minutes left in the program. Our guy Brad Young is going to be in tonight at 8 o'clock for At Your Service. He'll join us in our final segment. But right now, we're going to go back to the Quiver River Electric guest line. We will pause from talking about Craig Berube for just a moment. And instead, we'll talk SLU Billikens basketball. We're very happy to welcome on Stu Durando, covers the Billikens for STL Today and the Post-Dispatch. Stu, appreciate you taking some time with us. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
So what do you make of the Billikens looking so much better in their last time out when they got that win against Hofstra? And people would say Hofstra, so it's a 3-point win against Hofstra, but you compare that to what happened against Drake and Southern Illinois and even the win against Dartmouth. It seemed like a legitimate step forward.
Yeah, no, it was probably one of, if not their best efforts of the year, in terms of not necessarily just execution, but I mean, just in terms of intensity and energy and that type of thing that we haven't seen at times, especially in that Carbondale game. So, and the first half against Drake was actually their best half of the season. They just couldn't sustain it over the last 20 minutes with the short bench.
They get the week off. Is this one of these times where maybe they would have rather had a midweek game to try to take whatever momentum they grabbed on Saturday?
I don't think so in this case. They got finals this week for one thing, so they usually have the week off. And then with all the injuries that are going on right now, they've limited the personnel. That I think they're pretty happy to maybe give some of these guys some extra time to see if they can get better. Although I don't know what the prospects are for a couple of players for this weekend. They may just be waiting to try and get guys healthy for the start of conference play.
We saw Jason Tatum was at the game. He sat courtside. I believe he was able to spend some time with the team. What role did that play in everything that went down?
Hard to know. That's kind of weird because I don't know that anyone knew he was going to be there. And it's like, oh, look at that. Terrence Hargrove talked after the game about, having a relationship with him and how it was a little, inspirational. He played a great game. Did it actually play into how hard he worked or what he did on the court? I don't know, but it can't hurt to look over and see a guy like that sitting courtside for his hometown college team, and to inspire guys to play a little bit. And then I know they had him in the locker room afterward to talk to the team, so they used that for what they could.
There's kind of off the court. There was a ruling where a federal judge issued a restraining order against the NCAA, basically saying that the rule against two-time transfers not being eligible is not legal, that it violated federal antitrust law. It's just a restraining order. There still needs to be a final ruling on this, but schools are going to be allowed to use players who are on a second transfer, at least during these 2 weeks. That does impact SLU. Are they going to take advantage of it?
Yeah, made talking tonight better than last night, as it turns out. I don't know. I've got calls all over to SLU and didn't receive. I'm trying to find out what their plans are for Brad and Wiro for the days that would fall within those 14 days of restraining order would be set next week. It would appear there would be no downside to having him in uniform and using him, but I haven't heard back to hear exactly what the plans might be or what SLU. It just came out this afternoon.
I think we've Stu, we've kind of got a tough connection here. We're gonna hang tight here for just a moment and see if we can fix that connection up just a little bit. And again, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, federal judge issued a 14-day temporary restraining order against the NCAA, saying that the NCAA enforcing a rule that says that you can't have a double transfer is actually a violation of federal antitrust law. And now there's a 14-day period where double transfers can play, and a final ruling will eventually be made on that. Stu, are you still there? Did we get you back?
I'm here. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. We lost you for just a second. Does it? We're in the wild west of college athletics right now when we talk about name, image, likeness, and then more and more often we're hearing about the court system and governments and state governments getting involved. The AG in Florida just opened an investigation into the College Football Playoff Committee. Does it make you uncomfortable that at what at one point in time was considered sort of an untouchable in college athletics, all of a sudden is being brought into sort of the real world?
Yeah, it's a lot of unpleasant stuff that we haven't dealt with in previous decades. It's all just been slowly building, things changing shape, and the NCAA is involved in so much of this, and people are so down on the NCAA and what they're doing in terms of this transfer thing. There's just been so much criticism about how they've operated that led to this lawsuit, where some multiple transfers are being cleared. Most of them are not. And there's just really no rhyme or reason to how it's happening. So, I can see how it led to the lawsuit itself was not surprising because, there are people who think they have really strong cases. SLU is one of them, but they're not, they weren't involved in the lawsuit. That's just the way that things are going. And it's just until we get, things figured out in terms of what the NCAA's role is going to be and all these other things in terms of college sports, it's just going to be an ongoing mess. And this whole shape of college sports has just changed.
2 games left in the non-conference, 2 games left in calendar year 2023. home against Louisiana Tech, on the road against NC State, and then they'll open up league play on Wednesday, January 3rd. Non-conference play, with all due respect, is kind of you build out a non-conference schedule to build out your resume, to accumulate some wins, to get tested in certain ways, and they'll especially get tested against NC State. But is there anything they can do in these final two games to make the non-conference a success, or is this kind of a lost non-conference this year? Now they've just got to go, make hay in conference play.
Yeah, there's nothing they can do in terms of a resume for NCAA considerations. They're going to have to win the conference and conference tournament, but they can continue to get better, which they've done in 3 of the last 4 halves. They can get guys healthy. If Sincere Parker comes back, it's a completely different team. And if you have Mike Meadows and Larry Hughes, they bring a lot of stability. I mean, those are 3 guys who were starting guards on the first day of the season, and they're all out. They've had to change the way they play. They've slowed things down, and they just, if they can get the conference and get back to being healthy, they can possibly do something, because they've shown how competitive they can be, when they're playing hard and when they're playing well.
He is Stu Durando, covers the Billikens for the Post-Dispatch and for STL Today. Stu, thanks so much for taking some time. We'll catch up again down the road.
Very good. I appreciate it.
All right. That's Stu Durando joining us via the Quiver River Electric guest line. Yeah, it's odd when courts start to get involved with things. Again, a federal judge issues that 14-day temporary restraining order, so colleges can sit there and use these multiple transfers for 2 weeks. It could happen that 2 weeks from now, another judge, another court says, you know what, it's actually completely legal what the NCAA is doing here. And all of a sudden, these players who maybe got a game or two, they might not be able to play anymore. And that's the world we're living in college athletics. When you look at what's going on in the state of Florida right now, where their attorney general is opening up an investigation into the college football playoff committee and essentially accusing the playoff committee of being in business and collusion with ESPN and the SEC, because ESPN has a business partnership with the SEC. ESPN's going to be running those games. It behooves ESPN as a television network to say, have an Alabama as opposed to have a Florida State. So did ESPN get their hands in this thing and try to push the playoff committee in a certain direction to keep Florida State out? If that happened, there's probably some laws that got broke there. There's a lot of money that's being lost there. You look at the world of college athletics right now, and if you're not in the SEC or the Big Ten, you got a lot of things working against you. And it's kind of the SEC, the Big Ten, then the Big 12 is kind of in its own spot. And then you take one step further and you get to the ACC and what was the Pac-12, which isn't even going to exist anymore. And all of a sudden, schools in the ACC, if you're a Florida State, if you're a Clemson, you're sitting there going, wait, we can go undefeated? We can win our league championship, and we're not going to get into the college football playoff? Where can we go to be in a better place? That's not going to happen next year when the college football playoff expands, but it just goes and it further shows the issues that exist where leagues are being treated differently and where maybe there are some business partnerships that are being put in front of true fairness. So it's a wild time right now when it comes to college athletics, and that doesn't even get into all the NIL stuff that is continuing to have a huge impact, especially right now in the transfer portal. We'll take a break, and when we come back, our guy Brad Young, he is in for At Your Service tonight beginning at 8 o'clock. We'll chat with him. We'll find out what's coming up on the show. We'll get into a few other things as well as we roll on with the Gray Bar Sports Open Line right here on KMOX.
Urgent Camp Lejeune settlement message. On September 6th, the government announced it will soon begin providing fast, guaranteed settlements to Camp Lejeune Marines, families, and civilians. Awards will range between $100,000 and $550,000, with an option for higher amounts. If you or a loved one spent time at Camp Lejeune and suffered cancers of the bladder, liver, or kidneys, leukemia, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, Parkinson's, or kidney issues, you may qualify for compensation and could be paid within 60 days after accepting your settlement, with your VA benefits fully protected. You may be entitled entitled to a significant financial award for your Camp Lejeune claim, but you must act now. Call the James Harris Law Camp Lejeune helpline now to get the compensation you deserve. We're already fighting for thousands harmed by the water at Camp Lejeune. Call now or you may forever lose your right to be awarded a settlement between $100,000 and $550,000. For your free evaluation, call 800-217-1155. That's 800-217-1155. 800-217-1155.
Are your health insurance premiums making you sick? Did you go with one of those high-deductible, limited network Obamacare plans? Well, you're not stuck with it. Or did you go with a plan outside the marketplace that's costing you an arm and a leg? There are better options. Kim Kiefer at H&L Agency offer plans where you only need a deductible if you go into a hospital. You pick your doctors, and it's 30 to 60% lower than most other plans. If you pay for your own health insurance, you're uninsured, you're on COBRA, or your employer coverage is just too expensive, you need to talk to an expert. Call Kim at 800-975-2841. That's 800-975-2841. Or go to hnlagency.org. And is spelled out. That's hnlagency.org. hnlagency.org. A quality plan managed by you, not the government.
Del Walmsley and the Wealth Cycle.
This is the wealth cycle that I've taught for 30 years. Buy one house, 10 houses, an apartment, 2 apartments, 8, 20, 500 units, 1,000 units, 2,000, 5,000 units. And as you keep putting the money and the profits back in, you become one of those rich people. And much quicker than you'd even believe.
Learn Dell's Wealth Cycle at GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. Use promo code 2023. Save 60%. Code 2023. GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. Your home of the Cardinals.
Arenado swings and hits it deep to left field. That ball is out of here.
The Billikens.
Jumper. Yes! Billikens win!
The Chiefs.
Touchdown! Kansas City!
We are America's sports voice. KMOX.
The Great Bar Sports Open Line does continue right here on KMOX. My name is Matt Pauley. Couple things for you. First off, another reminder, tomorrow night we have Countdown to Opening Day. Mike Claiborne and myself, we will be recording much of that program at Cardinal Nation Restaurant tomorrow, Ballpark Village. We're going to have extended conversation with the voice of the Cardinals, John Rooney. That's going to begin at 2 o'clock tomorrow, so if you're looking for something to do, stop on by. Also, we know who City SC is going to match up in round 1 of the Champions Cup. They are going to take on Houston Dynamo FC. So that matchup is set. That is going to be round number 1 for the Champions Cup, which is a really big deal for City SC to be participating in. They were able to qualify with what they did this past season in the regular season, and now their first round draw is going to be against Houston Dynamo FC. And before we know it, City SC will be back going through training. That's going to start in January. So this is really the final month of the offseason for City SC, which is just wild. Houston Dynamo, the first round matchup, and looking forward to seeing that. We also look forward to seeing our good friend Brad Young. He is in the house. He's got At Your Service. I almost forgot the name of the show. At Your Service tonight from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. Hello, Brad.
Mr. Pauley, it's good to see you, sir.
It is good to see you as well. I know you got something for me. Real quick, do you have a hot take on the firing of Craig Berube?
Yeah, I do. Just that obviously he's been good with St. Louis. There's no question that he's a great coach. There's also no question in my mind he's going to land somewhere and then do well. But it's just the unfortunate reality that when you have a team that's not performing, the easiest move to make is to fire the manager.
Yeah,
and I get that. That's the reality of sports. And he'll land somewhere and he'll do well. But unfortunately, that's what you got to do when you've got a team that's not performing. You got to make some kind of a change. To do nothing and expect something different is the definition of insanity. So I understand the move, but personally, I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't like it either. Don't like it at all. I don't know what the other moves could have been. That's where I'm struggling, but I certainly do not like that move. All right, I think you have something for me tonight.
Well, here's the thing. As I've been watching, I've got my youngest daughter's at Mizzou, and I've been following Mizzou football very closely this year, and obviously it's no shock that this is one of the best seasons ever. And
are you taking credit for Mizzou's season because you're interested?
Actually, my tuition dollars that I send a check twice a year to Mizzou, that helped helped put a winning team on the field. So yeah, I'm taking credit. It's all thanks to me.
Just wanted to make sure we were very overt in what you were saying.
It's all thanks to me.
Okay, all right.
100% of the credit.
All right.
And I'll take 90% of the credit. 10% goes to Drinkwitz. But that's just the way I see it. But
no arguments over here.
Okay, good. So, but no, what really made me start thinking about this NIL, name, image, and likeness issue is that Missouri was one of the first states in the country to pass a law regarding name, image, and likeness for athletes.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing the timing of recruiting and those types of things, I don't believe that law had much of anything to do with this season. But when you talk now about retaining talent with Mizzou, whether it's football or basketball, whether you talk about recruiting talent for next year, again, whether you're talking football or basketball, I wanted your take on whether and to what extent NIL is going to make a difference in retaining talent, because that's the key to any program, retaining talent, and recruiting new talent, which is the second part of any successful program. In your mind, Matt Pauley, what will NIL, or will it have any impact in both the retention and the recruitment of talent?
Yes, profound impact. Let's start with the recruiting, because Missouri, as far as I know, is the only state in the country still that has a law in place where if you're a Missouri high school athlete and you commit to a Missouri school, you can start taking NIL money as a high schooler. If you're a senior in high school, or you're done playing high school sports and you're going to a Missouri school, it is legal to start taking NIL money right then. And that doesn't happen anywhere else. So the idea is that the best Missouri athletes, that would help funnel them to Mizzou. And it's a little bit better. It's still the place where Mizzou has a problem is they're still not competing with the money that in Alabama and a Texas and schools like that. Those NIL collectives have a lot more money. What's very interesting, though, so right now we're in a period of time in college athletics where a lot of kids are deciding whether or not they're going to go back to their school next year or they are going to go into the transfer portal.
Mm-hmm.
A good percentage of the kids who are making the decision to stay at their school, they're not just making the announcement on their Twitter or on their Facebook or on their Instagram or something. They are making the announcement through the NIL collective connected to those schools. Okay. So essentially, the NIL collective for Missouri or Texas or Alabama or Pitt or whatever school has worked out a deal with a kid to compensate them in a certain way. And in return for that compensation, they are going to stay at that school. And these announcements are being made through those NIL collectives.
Interesting.
It's a brand new thing. I had not seen these announcements made like this until this year.
Well, and legally, and I talked about this a lot even on At Your Service before NIL became legal. But the whole question, and we're going to have to see how this develops over time, it's way too early to reach any conclusions. But at some point, if student athletes in college begin to be paid like employees, then that takes an entirely new take on that relationship between students and the universities. Do they get work comp coverage? Can they unionize? Can they go on strike? I mean, all the things that we never really think about in college athletics all of a sudden become possible if they're treated as employees. Right now, they're not, obviously, but that's not too far of a leap from where we are right now.
I think that's where the universities are trying to make sure that every penny that goes to a student athlete is a third-party dollar.
Yeah, well, it's that exact reason.
Yeah.
Right. But can you imagine if all of a sudden students are on strike or unionize or all the kind of things that employees can do? It could come to college athletics. I don't want to see that, but I think NIL is an excellent compromise.
We are still at a very odd place in college athletics. The big colleges want to break off. There's been talk about even in college basketball, the major conferences breaking off from the smaller conferences where the NCAA tournament's going to look different. You think there's been change in the last 10 years. Just wait. Just wait. Yep. It's not even the tip of the iceberg, I think, when it comes to where college athletics is going. All right, that's Brad Young. Generally, I would ask him what's coming up on his show. I don't have time to do that. We're done. You're just going to have, you know what? That's good. You know, you won't know, and you will be more than pleasantly surprised because Brad does a great show every single week. Brad Young's in with At Your Service. That's next right here on KMOX.
What do you mean he's not coming in? This is our busiest time.
The Mixel